Hi there, my name is Rebecca Marola and I'm one of the owners of Function Junction. Now, hot chocolate bombs were all the rage this holiday season, but I'm looking forward to Valentine's Day because we are going to learn how to make a chocolate bomb with Cupid dust. A chocolate bomb is a sphere of chocolate, and inside the chocolate shell is a hot cocoa mix. In order to make a chocolate shell that is shiny, that is able to stay at room temperature without melting and has a little bit of a snap to it, we want to make sure that our chocolate is tempered. Now, don't be intimidated by tempering chocolate. Really, the only thing we need to know is that as we melt our chocolate, we have to keep control of the temperature. So I have an instant read thermometer that we're going to use frequently to check the temperature of our chocolate. What you want to use, and what I'm using today, I'm using Lindt brand chocolate. It's known to be very good chocolate. It melts superbly, has a rich flavor. This bar is 85% cocoa. I'm going to be using 2 of these. I'm also using a 43% cocoa baking chocolate, but it's not the same as a chocolate chip. This actually, I checked the ingredient list, it does contain cocoa butter. Now, the reason that that's important is because the process of tempering, which we're going to do today, melts the molecules in cocoa butter to a liquid state. Then we're going to cool that to an ideal working temperature between 84 degrees and 90 degrees, which allows those molecules to regroup and form the structure that's needed for the chocolate to hold its shape at room temperature. Okay, so let's get started. In order to have your chocolate melt more quickly, we're going to cut it or shave it so that the pieces are smaller. Now, I've had a double boiler simmering on low, and this is a nice, gentle way to heat chocolate without burning it. So I'm gonna go ahead and put the chocolate in. So even though my double boiler is not on, I'm still able to melt the chocolate because the heat from the hot water underneath this pan is melting the chocolate. So okay, you see that we're quite a bit more liquid than we were just a moment ago. I'm gonna just take a quick reading. I'm already at 100 degrees. So I'm gonna take this off of the heat now and just let it sit. Okay, our chocolate's weighing in at about 108 degrees. So while we are well under our temperature maximum, we are too warm to be able to work with the chocolate the way we need to work with it. So we're gonna let it cool down. So while we're waiting for our chocolate to come down to workable temperature, we're gonna go ahead and make our hot chocolate mix. And I am using about a 1/4 cup of powdered sugar, a 1/4 cup of unsweetened baking cocoa, and I'm also adding cinnamon and salt. Cinnamon because it adds a nice little kick to your cocoa and it's perfect for Valentine's Day. So I mix all that up. And I want to mix it pretty good because that salt tends to settle in the bottom. Let's check the temperature of our chocolate. We're at about 92, so we are almost there. Now that we're within our working temperature, we're going to put chocolate into our molds. Now, it's super important to not get any condensation or moisture. So make sure that the bottom of your pan is not wet before you are working with your active chocolate. I'm using a silicone mold, and this mold will make a total of 3 balls. Now we're gonna take this natural bristle brush and we're gonna brush the chocolate up the sides. And you wanna just make sure that all of the mold is covered. And we're gonna go back again and reinforce the edges. Okay, so now I'm taking the chocolate that I have in my brush and I'm kind of scraping it off on the sides so that there is a little bit of an anchor, if you will. But you see how I've got a little bit of a space here where there's exposed silicone mold. So we're just gonna paint that in. I'm gonna kind of anchor that top so it doesn't slide down. And we're gonna refrigerate this for about 5 minutes, and then we'll come back for another coat. And in the meantime, I'm going to put our chocolate back on the double boiler. I'm not gonna turn it on because my water is still warm, so chances are that will keep me at the right temperature, but if I need to, I can always turn it up a little bit. So while our shells are chilling this first time, I'm gonna show you how I make Cupid dust. So I'm gonna take regular Red Hot candies, the kind like you get from the movie theater, and I'm gonna put them on a piece of parchment. Now I've doubled this parchment so that I've got 2 layers here. And now I'm gonna fold this over and kind of give that a crease. I'm gonna do the same thing on this side, crease it. Then I'm gonna fold this side over and this side over. And what that does is creates a little envelope that contains all of my Red Hots so that I can crush them. So I'm gonna take a rolling pin now and just give these a couple of whacks. We're gonna use these to decorate the outside of our chocolate bomb as well as put some of the dust on the inside. I wanna make sure that I don't put a hole in my parchment paper, because if I put a hole in it, then all my Cupid dust is gonna get away, and who knows what's gonna happen if the Cupid dust gets away before it's time. Now we're going to open our envelope, and looky there, we have Cupid dust. So I'm gonna put that into a little bowl, and we can use that both in our filling and for decoration. So we're back for our second painting, and I've noticed when I took my mold out of the refrigerator that I really left some pretty big holes. So I wanna make sure that I get those covered really well. And I'm gonna go ahead and paint the second layer. And this one I'm gonna do 1 shell at a time. And making my shells kind of thick. I like knowing that my chocolate is gonna hold up to a little bit of pressure when I go to release my mold. And I'm paying special attention to these edges because, you know, we're gonna end up sealing those with another half of a shell. So we want them to be nice and sturdy. Okay, so now for sure I don't have any little spots showing. We're gonna put this back in the refrigerator for another 5 minutes. So I'm also gonna return my chocolate to the warm water. At this stage, we could possibly use it to do a little drizzling as a decoration, but we have used what we need to create the chocolate shells. The shells have been in the fridge actually for a little longer than 5 minutes, but the first thing I'm gonna do is just pull gently on the edges to loosen the silicone from the shells. Once I've done that a couple of times, I can hear it kind of popping and releasing. Then I'm gonna carefully turn this over. So now we're gonna loosen the mold and work on getting the shell to release from the silicone mold. And I hesitate to push real hard with my thumb because if I have a thin spot, then that piece will fall right through. But there we go. And it's a nice shiny, that's exactly what we wanted. So now we are on to number 2. And really, if you break a shell as you're trying to unmold it, it's no big deal. Just throw it back into the pot and it will be good for your next go round. And I have had a shell crack down the side and I've salvaged it by gluing the pieces together. Oh, and another one. Perfect. So I've heated a plate in a very low setting on the oven. It's the lowest that my oven can go. And I'm doing that so that I can take a shell and just drop it on the top, or drop it on the plate, and allow the heat from that plate to smooth the edge of the shell. Now this is gonna make a much better surface for bonding when we add the other side. You don't wanna leave it there indefinitely because your shell will just melt. Now I'm gonna take a scoop of this cocoa mix that we made. I'm gonna put a couple of spoonfuls in Cupid dust. Then I'm gonna top it off with some marshmallows. And remember, you can make this kind of tall because the lid that we're putting on it is also domed, so there's room to put lots of stuff in it. I'm gonna take another shell. I'm going to place it on the warm plate. This is gonna create some glue, if you will, and I'm going to carefully place it over the other side. It will just take a few seconds for that to bond. I'm going to roll it in the Cupid dust. So that's our first one. We've got 2 more to go. And when it comes to decorating, you can decorate your little hot cocoa bombs any way that you want to. Now to enjoy your Cupid dust cocoa bombs, you place it in a mug and you pour hot steaming milk over the bomb. And as you pour, the chocolate will melt, releasing the cocoa mix inside. So I'm Rebecca Merola. Thanks for hanging with me today and making Cupid dust cocoa bombs. Please come down to the store and say hi or shop us online at functionjunction.com, where we sell cool kitchen stuff to give you kitchen confidence.